Welcome to the third installment of my devlog series for my untitled roguelike game. It's been a while since I made one of these as I've been busy with my full-time job, but that didn't stop me from making new progress in the last 3 weeks. There is a lot to get covered in this video, so let's get right into the new changes. In the last devlog, I mentioned that I plan on working on abilities next, and that's exactly what I started with. But first, let's talk about the inspiration behind these abilities. As a big fan of elemental-based magic systems, I wanted to create a set of abilities that is both diverse and exciting for my players to make builds with. I also wanted to make sure that each element has its own unique flavor and role, so that players can combine the ones that they like and make a playstyle out of that. So, let's start with fire. For this element, I wanted to focus on high damage and AoE. To demonstrate the abilities, I made this target dummy who I call Tart for short. Hopefully he won't mind getting blasted by spells for the next 5 minutes. Anyways, fire is the element you go for when you want to add damage to your kit. With abilities like the Mind Blaze, where you send out an ever-growing bomb that can be reactivated for an explosive damage, or the Fire Laser, that lets you shoot 3 lasers out of your wand, damaging everyone in their range. For the ultimate, I made a classic flamethrower that deals damage over time to anybody in it. And while we're at it, give me 1 second. Yup, alright. Yep, that looks done. Moving on to the dash. The dash leaves a flaming circle behind that, similarly to the flamethrower, deals damage over time. The downside of those spells is their high cooldown, so going full fire set could very quickly leave you helpless versus stronger enemies. The behavior of these spells also reflects on the design of the fire character. You see, I balanced them out to have the lowest health among all other ones, but at the same time have the highest damage and crit chance. So think of it as the glass cannon character. Moving on to water. Water focuses on quick casts and debuffs. All water abilities have low cooldown as well, so they can be used on a regular basis, but the downside is their low damage amount. Picking water spells can help you deal with tough enemies by, for example, slowing them down with the Holy Water Dash that creates a temporary puddle on the ground, or disarming them with the Frost Shot that shoots icicles that stop any enemy they hit from casting for a while. This one is very effective versus a slime enemy. Like, look at him, he's just walking around and suddenly, no more slime. He's completely harmless. The other 2 spells are the Tidal Wave, which is a great tool to hit enemies from afar, and the ultimate, Ice Blocks, that blocks enemy projectiles from reaching you, while also dealing damage to enemies they go over, providing you with defensive and offensive capabilities. The water character prides himself being the fastest among all others, as he doesn't have legs to slow him down, he just kind of freely glides around. I don't know, that made sense in my head, so that's just how it is now. Next up is wind. For this element, I wanted to focus on utilities and crowd control. Like, for example, the wind wave being a big version of your normal attack that pushes enemies back, allowing the player to create space between themselves and the enemies. If you don't want to deal with an enemy, simply pick this one and send them their way. The wind boomerang allows for creative plays as it bounces off walls and can be pushed around by the player to adjust its trajectory. This allows you to catch enemies from afar, or simply focus on strong ones by setting up a loop. The ultimate creates a big wind tornado that sucks all enemies in and deals damage to the ones in the middle, and the dash pushes them away, making it perfect for you if you find yourself in tight situations. The wind character is in general the most average among all. He's kinda okay on all stats, so if you're not looking to create any unique playstyle and just want to do a chill run, he's definitely your character to pick. And last but not least, Earth. Earth is the element that focuses on heavy and impactful damage. If you're into shooting rocks at your enemies or straight up showering the ground around you, these are the spells for you. The Earth Dash also allows you to dash through enemies and deal damage to them, and the cast lets you drop 3 rocks that fall and stun each enemy they hit. The Earth character is also the tankiest among all, yet the slowest with the lowest damage. If you're looking into making a heavy resisting playstyle and want to take your time killing enemies, definitely go for the Earth character. And with that being said, these are all the current spells and characters. As I mentioned earlier, in my game you get to mix and match all those abilities, allowing you to create different loadouts each run, hopefully leading to unique gameplay experiences. However, that isn't as far as customization goes. You see, in my free time I also went over the player stats and how those were impacting the game. Previously you were able to pick whether you want to get a stat or an ability for a reward. But the issue with that system was that the players would go for a stat in most cases and end up not upgrading their spells, or even worse, not even filling their loadout. To fix that, I made a level up system that works in the following way. Each time you complete a stage, you get +1 XP. And when you reach 3, you get to pick a stat to upgrade. That way, players will keep on focusing on their loadouts and upgrading the spells they like the most, while passively gaining stat upgrades, making them stronger with each room cleared. To top all this, I want to later on introduce Augments. Those will help you push your playstyle even further with effects such as double your crit chance but half your max health, or every damage you reduce with armor is dealt back to the enemy that gave it to you. These should amplify your playstyle by allowing you to create fun extremes, if you get the right augments of course. I have yet to start working on this system, but I'm happy with its design so far, so that will probably be my next focus. Aside from all these gameplay changes, I also took some time to improve my UI. I added sounds and animations when you open up the ability screens, replaced the input text with icons, and added your current stats to the player UI so they're always visible. That way you can always check what your chances are from doing something, like for example critting an enemy or getting lucky, which, if I haven't mentioned before, gives you a chance to upgrade a stat or an ability twice when you select it. My main goal when redoing this UI was to leave as little written text as possible and communicate as much as I can with icons and images. I believe this is a common thing among pixel art games, and I'm a big fan of having non-traditional UI, so I'll try to apply that to my other elements as well. Now that I've covered most changes, I want to talk a bit about art. Art has been by far my biggest weakness while making the game. Before this project, I didn't have any art making experience. I've only really used game-ready assets or had artists with me on the team when making my previous games. I definitely don't see myself progressively get better, but the whole process has been one big bottleneck for my project. I did recently found some tools that should speed up that part of development, such as Juice FX that allows you to add 2D animations to your sprites in minutes, and the Pixel FX Designer that will hopefully allow me to improve some of my spell VFX. I've already used it a bit to make this blood particle, and it seems like the perfect tool for me. So let me know in the comments which effects you guys like from the ones that I just showed you and which you don't. I want to improve them as much as I can, but I don't plan on redoing all of them, so if you don't get your change, that's probably the reason why. And that's it for this devlog. I hope you like how the game is coming together, as I'm really happy with the progress. Most of my friends with who I regularly playtest have expressed that they enjoyed the recent changes, and that has motivated me quite a bit to keep going. Moving forward, I want to tackle another big part of my game, the stages. Currently, they're pretty bland and the gameplay in them doesn't feel different. I want to experiment with things like different arena shapes and environmental hazards, so expect to see more of that in the next video. As a closer, I want to thank you so much for watching my previous video. It did far better than I imagined, and I hope you guys enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed making it. I plan on making more videos like that one, where I make a single game from start to finish and document it in a single video. So if you want to see more of that, make sure to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.